All right. Well, welcome everyone to our first Toad Learning Camp of 2021. Today we're going to talk about the U.S. National Parks. I like this statement, which was said about when they started the National Park Fund, or the whole national park program. National parks are the best idea we ever had. Absolutely American, absolutely democratic. They reflect us at our best rather than our worst. Thought that was kind of appropriate for right now. This is written by a Pulitzer Prize winning author, Wallace Stegner. And if I remember right, this is Yosemite. So we're going to talk about visiting the U.S. National Parks, history and general facts about the parks, and kind of go over where the parks are. Abraham Lincoln signed an act of Congress back in 1864, where basically the U.S. government took over Yosemite Valley and Mariposa Grove, and this would eventually become one of the early national parks. In 1872, they created Yellowstone Park with a law that was signed by Congress. Oh, I thought I put it in there what it was called. I didn't. After that, Mackinac National Park, which no longer exists, same with Rock Creek Park, Sequoia and Yosemite all became parks before the National Park Service was ever created. It was 44 years later in 1916 when the U.S. National Park Service was formed. This was the Organic Act of 1916, where they decided they needed to have an organization that would work on conservancy with natural and historical objects in the country, and make sure that people could enjoy them for years to come. The parks are run by the National Park Service under the Secretary of the Interior. Yellowstone, of course, was the first park. And there's more than 418 natural, historical, recreational, and cultural areas that fall underneath the National Park Service. And I'm not going to read all of these, but those are the kind of things that could be under the National Park Service. So there's some areas that we think of as national parks, and they're not actually national parks. They're more historic sites, or the one I found interesting was national seashores. So, because Wisconsin doesn't actually have a national park, but we do have a seashore. There's 63 that are actually called national parks. They cover 84 million acres, which this is the size of I'm sorry, that's not correct. That is what I was about to say isn't. 4.5 million acres of oceans, lakes, and reservoirs within the national parks. 85,000 miles of rivers and streams, and 68,000 archaeological sites, 27,000 historical structures within the national parks, 12,250 miles of trails, and 8,500 miles of roads. 14 are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. 21 of them are UNESCO Biosphere Reserves, and 8 fall into both of these programs. If you want to see all of the national parks, you need to go to 30 different states and a couple territories as well. Now, this is a little bit of a dated map. There's a few more parks from since 2024, but this gives you kind of an idea of the layout of the country and where the national parks are. Of course, we've got 8 national parks in Alaska, 2 in Hawaii, and 1 in American Samoa. American Samoa is the southernmost national park. It's the only park that is south of the equator. And of course, this is Volcanoes National Park. And Glacier Bay, Denali, which we'll see in August. And I've got a couple here of the Kenai Fjords. This one was in particular for the tour that we're going to be doing when we're down there before we get on the ship. And American Samoa. And then looking at just the western part of the country, that's where the bulk of the national parks are. And I group them by state where the majority of that particular park is located. Like Yellowstone is located in Wyoming, but it does have some areas in Montana and Idaho. But I did count it as being in Wyoming. And like I mentioned, there's a couple parks that are missing. There's another one in New Mexico that's not on this map, and another one in Arizona that's not on here as well. And this is Crater Lake up in Oregon. And Olympic Park in Washington. The Arches, of course. Rocky Mountain Park in this, I believe this is in Estes Park, Colorado. And I think this one is Yosemite, I think. I forgot now. And Grand Canyon. And Carlsbad Caverns. And then going over to the eastern part of the United States, there's a lot fewer. So if you only want to cover half of the country, I would pick the eastern part. You can get it done a lot quicker. And here there's one missing in Indiana, the newest one in West Virginia, which the newest park just became a national park in December. So it's very new to the park system. 3 down in Florida, and then of course the one down in the Virgin Islands. This is up in Michigan. I'm trying to find the name here. Nope, I don't have it handy. And this was Acadia National Park in Maine. The Great Smoky Mountains, which the Great Smoky Mountains is, in 2018, it was the most visited national park in the United States. The second most visited was the Grand Canyon. Dry Tortugas, I took this picture when we flew in a couple years ago. And this was taken in the fort in the Dry Tortugas. Of course, this is in St. John's and U.S. Virgin Islands. And then the top picks for what you would want to go and see in some of the national parks. Favorite for waterfalls is going to be Yosemite. Favorite for wildflowers is Glacier National Park. What's nice about Glacier National Park, that's on the northern edge of Montana. You could go over the border and go to Glacier National Park in Canada as well, and go to Banff and Lake Louise and see what's going on up there. Favorite park for fall foliage is going to be Acadia again. I wish it would have looked that way when I was there. Wildlife watching is Yellowstone. Bird watching is the Everglades, which a few of you were just there a few weeks ago. Stargazing is Bryce Canyon. Paddling, we go back down to the Grand Canyon. Mountain views, Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. And lighthouses back out to Acadia. I think I might have to paint that picture. And canyons, of course, the Grand Canyon. And overall park experience is Yellowstone National Park. And bucket list park, several of us will be there this year, Denali. And I'm hoping that it looks as pretty as this picture looks, because we're going late enough in the season, we should be able to see some pretty colors up there. And there are 6 days that you can see any of the national parks for free. There's only about 100 parks within the national park system that do have a daily charge, but the ones that do have a charge, you can see for free 6 days this year. January 18th, next Monday, if you're so inclined, head over to a national park for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. April 17th is the first day of National Park Week. August 4th is the 1-year anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act. And the 25th is National Park Service's birthday. September 25th, National Public Lands Day, and Veterans Day on the 11th of November. Veterans and Gold Star families can get into national parks anytime for free. And there's a program which they carried it over to this year. Last year, there was a program for 4th graders so that they could get in anytime last year. But because of the pandemic, they've extended it. So now the 5th graders can get access for this academic year. And that is pretty much what I've got. So I'm going to stop sharing this and open it up to any questions. So feel free to unmute yourself.
Tracy, what's the typical entrance fee for the national parks?
It varies. It can be around $25 up to $100.
And I believe Smoky Mountain National Park is always free.
I think so. That sounds right.
Is there any sort of a national pass? So if you're going to go across the country and go to several?
Yes, you can get a pass. I know some people, when we went up to Alaska last time, some people did have passes to the national parks. And so their entry fee to get into Denali was waived. So you can do an annual pass. I'm not sure on the cost of an annual pass though.
I bought one. I think I paid $80 for it. It's good for a year.
So that would be a good one to go to the $100 a day one. Any other questions?
There's some parks with lodging, like I know Wilderness Lodge is based off one of them. How many, or do you know how many there are and how hard it is to book?
It is difficult to get in them. And honestly, I am not sure that that's the right accommodations for everybody. A lot of them are shared bathroom accommodations and more of your basic accommodations, but they are very difficult to get into. They're usually booked out a good year plus in advance. Melissa, can you add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we went to Sedona and we went to Grand Canyon this last September here, and Grand Canyon we did book out a year in advance. We actually were trying to get down to Phantom Ranch, which is a lottery, which is at the bottom of the canyon. So that's an actual lottery. We did not get that, and most of them don't have air conditioning out there either. So when we were there, luckily it was it was hot during the day in the canyon, but I think it was like 70s or 80s up at the top. But so that's something to think about. We had the little cabins, so we did have our own bathroom. But yeah, like Tracy said, the El Tovar, I think it was, we went into there and they had the shared bathrooms. But because of COVID, I think each room got a bathroom because it said on there now room whatever when we were there. So that'll probably change later on because we'll have more people there. But yeah, so just be aware of that.
I've looked at national parks trips for several clients, and if they were planning less than a year in advance, there was no way they were staying at one of the accommodations in the parks. We just couldn't find any availability. But there are a lot of accommodations that are very close to the park, but some of them are in the parks and some are not. So you can find some private accommodations within the parks in some cases.
We were out in Yellowstone Park
Many years ago.
back in '86. And they had a new hotel at that point. It was just open. And the rooms were tiny. They were extremely small. You're talking, if you had 100 square foot, it was like, like a cruise room, it was tiny. Actually, it's probably smaller than a cruise room.
Yeah, I was
remember.
surprised when I was looking at Grand Tetons for a client, and they wanted to stay at one of the accommodations there. And when I told her, well, we could get you in this one, but none of them have air conditioning. She's like, nope, not doing it.
Are there any parks with tours, like guided tours from a park ranger, or is that just an outside kind of thing?
Yeah, you can definitely get some tours with the park rangers in certain parks. What we did in Denali last time, and what we're doing this time, that is actually offered through the Park Service. And so we do have an employee of the Park Service who is the guide and the driver out there, and all of the tours that they have in the parks are operated by park employees.
Is the I know certain ones have campsites. Is that still a lottery or booking? Is that hard to get into also? Do you know? Hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is a tour of a 1 to 2 week tour of parks out west something that Travel on the Dream is considering putting together some point?
We are definitely thinking of doing something like that, just trying to figure out when. I know we did a survey a while ago. I think it was right about the time the pandemic started, and there did seem to be some good interest in doing something. I think I can't remember if it was Yellowstone or Yosemite. One of the two of those came out top, and there was a couple others that people were really interested in. So we are considering doing something like that. I'm looking to have in the next week or two have someone from Insight Vacations come and talk about Melissa's tour in Germany, but also talk about what a tour would be like in the United States, because we're definitely seeing more interest in people staying domestically, at least for this year.
Grand Canyon would be good too.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be interested in that.
Any of them.
Any of them really, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, seeing how many of them there are out there, you could definitely do a couple tour, or you could do one tour that's going to go to several of the national parks.
yeah, we did BAM and Glacier and all that 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So that was beautiful.
Yeah, Grand Canyon, Arches, and all them Utah parks.
I know
Same
the Bryce Canyon, when I saw the picture of the sky at night. Yeah, I could do.
Yeah, that's different. State.
I'd like to see Old Faithful too.
Mhm.
but that's a different state, so.
Yeah, in Old Faithful, that's at Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could reasonably go to Grand Teton and Yellowstone in one trip. Definitely. That's what I was planning. Well, that's what I had booked for someone for July of last year until it got canceled.
Oh. Yeah,
Old Faithful is not as faithful as it used to be.
no, it's slowed down now?
Well, the timing is not as right on and it's
Okay.
slowed down.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
little more variation.
How far
So
was it in between before?
It used to be like 53 or 59 minutes.
Yeah, it was,
Right around an hour.
yeah,
Yeah,
we saw it once or twice. And it was intriguing. It was
It was
cool.
impressive.
mhm.
And that was right outside the main lodge, Yellowstone Lodge, and that's not where we stayed. We stayed at some other lodge or Old Faithful Inn or whatever the heck it was called.
If you do Yellowstone, don't just try to run through it in a day. You need to spend
Oh, yeah.
more time. Because it's just,
We screwed up.
it was spectacular and you really need to really enjoy it. And feel the buffalo breath on the side of your face. I had that happen.
so
I was scared breathless.
So for people that would like a little bit more upscale experience, yet still see the national parks and see the area out west, Rocky Mountaineer is offering a US based train ride this year, and it goes from oh gosh, I can't remember where it goes from. I know it ends in Moab.
Rockies, it starts in the Rockies somewhere,
Yeah, I think it starts in Denver.
probably.
Yeah.
I just posted about it this week.
Yeah, and the only thing with that, they don't have the gold leaf service because the tunnels in the United States are not as tall. So they have just the silver leaf service, but they still have all the and it's still an amazing experience and different levels of hotels that you can stay in on the trip. And so that's a nice option. And
Moab has a great hotel that Adventures by Disney uses in
mhm.
that town. It's beautiful. It's like a ranch with all kinds of stuff.
And that was so I've got another family I'm working with on either a trip to Acadia or somewhere in Montana. So we're looking at the parks around there and looking at dude ranches in Montana.
Okay.
Where they have several different types of dude ranches that you can be like really working with them or a little bit more laid back and spa-like experiences. So that was kind of an interesting thing too.
Sign me up. Spa-like services.
Yeah,
Watch the ranchians do the work and then go.
exactly.
Watch the dudes do the ranching.
Yeah.
Well, and what was kind of nice about some of them, you could rent out the whole place because they don't have a ton of rooms. So some of them are much larger, but some of them are a little bit nicer, and most of them are all inclusive. So that's kind of a nice thing too.
There we go, Kara.
Yeah.
So I missed the trivia that I was going to give you because I wanted to see if you guys could guess it. Now I already told you Great Smoky Mountain National Park is the most visited in 2018 with Grand Canyon next. Which national park or which state, either one, has the largest national park?
Yeah,
Alaska.
Alaska.
Do you know which one it is?
Everglades.
It's not Denali.
Not to know.
The
Oh, it's that thing.
Wrangell
One of
St. Elias. And then the next three largest are also in Alaska. So Denali is one of the largest. It's just not the largest. And what is the smallest national park?
St. John?
Red Tortugas?
Red Tortugas, yeah.
Nope,
Something in Puerto Rico.
nope, it's very close to Mark Mullen.
Oh,
St.
the
Louis.
The
The
Gateway
Arch?
Arch.
Oh,
Oh,
Believe
I've
it or
been-
Forgot
not,
about that.
believe it or not, that is considered I was surprised that that was considered a national park versus a national
Monument.
monument or, yeah. Yeah, but
they
it is,
have the grass around it.
That's
It
the
is-
park.
it is one of the 63. Which
Okay.
is, so we know what the most visited is. Which do you think is the least visited national park?
Fried Tortuga. No,
One in America Samoa.
The one up in
Denali.
Maine.
Denali?
Volcanoes.
The Gates of
Oh.
the Arctic.
Oh,
That's the hardest to get to, I think.
It is. Yeah, that's, I
Oh.
think Tracy Coke did go there last time because she flew into the Arctic Circle and it's up there in that area.
Oh.
So that would be the northernmost, probably. I can't think of any that would be further than that. And that's all my trivia for you. So who wants to go?
we do. Me.
Yep.
I may
There's
have
one
to
for Mark.
retire.
Here, there we go.
We just have to find a time that it's gonna work. It just, when we push back a year's worth of trips,
I know.
it kind of makes it difficult, so.
What you doing in the summer or fall of 22?
Nothing yet. So trying to think about putting something on the calendar then. If people can recover from the Galapagos by then.
I can recover. I'm not sure the pocketbook can.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's why I think a state park might, or a national park might be cheap.
Yeah.
I could take
The first week of June.
I could go for a train ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not cheap.
Neither are staying though in the national parks.
True.
Those rooms are not cheap.
Yeah,
And they, you get a fan
yeah.
and no
exactly.
elevators, carry your luggage. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no
it-
lined suitcases.
The dude ranches that I was looking at for a 7-night stay were running around 2,500 a person, somewhere in that range. For the, not for the higher end ones. The higher end ones were more than that.
What's there to do at a dude ranch?
Watch
Ah,
a horse.
Watch dudes.
Watch dudes, yeah. Fly fishing, looking at animals, going in and seeing the animals,
Ride horses.
riding horses, learning how to rope, learning how to do different things with the horses. So,
Bull riding.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't do that. They might do it, but I'm kind of doubting that they would let the guests do that.
depends how active it is. One of my colleagues, they went out to one, it was a little bit more active. They went on a cattle drive.
So you can actually drive your own cattle?
Well, they brought the cattle. in.
Cadillac.
Oh, yeah, Cadillac, that works.
Cadillac.
Ranch.
Yeah, I was just gonna see, because I did put together what all the dude ranches were offering. Cookouts, rafting, tours, hikes, wrangling horses, riding, horsemanship.
No.
It depends how much, it depends on the level of ranch that you stay at too, how much of that stuff you're actually active in and how much is optional, and they let you if you want to join in. And
Carriage rides.
Yeah,
They have carriage rides.
yeah, and how much you just want to sit and watch
Here.
dudes.
Here, hop on this Shetland pony.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, do they have a pool?
Most of them do have at least a hot tub, if not a pool.
Are
I
the
want one
dudes
that lets you cook on a
bareback?
chuck wagon.
What's that, Tanya?
I want one that does like a cooking class for on the chuck wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be fun.
that would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Must
I think it'd be fun to like rent the whole place. So you're there with all your friends and then you can kind of design your program yourself with what they can offer, of course.
Well, these dude ranches, what's your capacity? I mean,
It varies. I saw some as small as like 12 and some up to, I want to say there were some that were like 40 or more. So it just depends on how big of an operation, but there's quite a few of them out there.
I'd rather go to the parks.
If you're thinking about dates, anytime after June 10th of 2022, because we have a family trip with all our kids, so
Yeah.
Just for a week.
just for a week,
We had to move it.
had to move it a year.
Yeah, I get
Mhm.
that. Yeah, I'm just seeing, is this the one I was looking at?
There's one of those. Yeah, we don't have to ride the horse. We don't want to.
You can even like do stuff with cows.
No,
Like-
brand them.
Wrestle
That's,
the
that's a
cow.
little general.
Oh yeah, that's probably. a
Lisa's
little
making
too-
a face there.
Yeah,
Sirloin steak, sirloin steak.
Yeah. Let's go to the national parks.
you can
Yeah, I'm more
farm
into
hay
the
and
national-
grain. You can learn how to farm.
Okay.
No, I'm
Plow
not a
the field.
gentleman farmer.
Lots of different options. So,
Okay, that
okay.
gives us some thoughts then.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
Go ahead and stop the recording.